Hi there, and welcome to The Celeb Tea. The story of Luis Ruelas may appear glamorous on the surface, filled with charming smiles, luxury cars, and the polished glow of Bravo's cameras, but beneath that picture-perfect exterior lies a far more complicated truth. When he entered the Real Housewives of New Jersey universe, he was introduced as Teresa Giudice's shining knight. He was the man who arrived just when she thought her world had completely fallen apart. After years of emotional turmoil, public humiliation, and the collapse of her marriage. At first, their romance felt like a dream sequence. Teresa had been through the ringer: prison time, financial ruin, betrayal, and heartbreak. Suddenly, here was Luis, attentive, romantic, expressive, and seemingly ready to rebuild the life she once lost. To many Bravo viewers, it appeared as if she had finally found a second chance at happiness. But as the spotlight on Luis grew brighter, whispers began swirling. Who exactly was Luis Ruelas? Was he truly the compassionate businessman he presented himself as? Or was there a darker history quietly following him into Teresa's world? It didn't take long before the facade began cracking. Rumors surfaced about financial troubles, past relationship issues, and questionable business choices. Fans who once believed he was Teresa's salvation started wondering if he might actually be her next disaster. Luis had built a reputation long before reality television entered the picture. Born and raised in New Jersey, he established himself in digital marketing and eventually co-founded Digital Media Solutions, a company that promised modern, tech-driven advertising strategies. On paper, it sounded impressive. He was marketed as a self-made entrepreneur who helped major brands grow. The story fits seamlessly into the glamorous Bravo narrative, but behind that shiny professional title, many former colleagues recalled a different reality. They described Luis as someone deeply invested in appearances, obsessed with projecting wealth, success, and leadership, even when the numbers behind the scenes didn't support it. Deals reportedly fell apart. Financial inconsistencies were noticed. Some said he was always chasing the image of success rather than building a stable foundation. By the time Luis and Teresa went public with their relationship in 2020, he had brought that same confident, high-energy image into her life. He wasn't just another boyfriend. He carried himself like a protector, a rescuer, someone who claimed he could offer Teresa the steady life she desperately needed after years of chaos. Fans noticed immediately how quickly the romance escalated. Lavish vacations, extravagant gifts, emotional declarations of devotion. Everything felt fast, almost too fast. Still, viewers wanted to believe Teresa had finally found peace. She posted radiant photos and heartfelt captions about love, destiny, and new beginnings. Luis played the perfect role: attentive, affectionate, and always ready to step into the spotlight. But as tabloids and Bravo fans dug deeper, a very different picture of his past started emerging. Business failures, troubling financial paperwork, lawsuits, exes with unsettling stories. So when cameras rolled for the next season of RHOJ, Luis wasn't just Teresa's handsome new partner. He was a puzzle, one the public was determined to solve. And soon, the pieces would start falling into place, revealing a reality far less polished than the persona he presented. After surviving heartbreak, imprisonment, and a divorce that played out on national television, Teresa believed the universe had finally rewarded her with a man who truly loved her. Luis entered her life like a whirlwind, warm, affectionate, consistently expressive, and endlessly complimentary. Their relationship seemed like the fresh start she had prayed for. Fans watched a transformed Teresa, smiling more, glowing brighter, and speaking about soulmates and second chances. But beneath the fairy tale romance, some observers sensed that something felt off. The speed of the relationship didn't just raise eyebrows, it sparked concern. Luis moved in quickly. Conversations about marriage and merging families appeared almost immediately. His extreme confidence, which initially seemed romantic, began to shift into something more intense, something that didn't sit right with everyone watching. Then came the infamous beach video, a viral clip that changed everything. In the footage, Luis stood shirtless on a beach surrounded by men, speaking through tears and apologizing to a woman for unknown reasons. It felt dramatic, emotional, and unsettling. The internet exploded with questions. Who was he addressing? What had he done? Why was he apologizing publicly like this? Luis insisted it was part of a men's retreat, a healing exercise meant to promote accountability and personal growth, but many didn't buy it. For critics, the video looked more like a red flag than a moment of vulnerability. It sparked rumors of past relationships filled with emotional turbulence, manipulation, or unresolved issues. Despite this, Teresa defended him fiercely, calling him sensitive, misunderstood, and emotionally evolved. Yet, even as she stood by him, longtime viewers couldn't shake the feeling that what appeared to be love might actually be control dressed up as devotion. And the concerns didn't stop there, because after questions about his emotional past came an entirely different wave of problems, financial ones, and these were not small issues. These were debts, lawsuits, and government liens that exposed a much darker side of Luis's story. Luis had spent years cultivating the image of a successful, self-assured entrepreneur, someone who built companies, made smart financial moves, and lived a life of abundance. But once the RHONJ spotlight intensified, the cracks in that carefully constructed narrative became impossible to ignore. His pride, Digital Media Solutions, had once been presented as a fast-growing powerhouse promising cutting-edge marketing solutions. He was described as a visionary, a leader who helped brands expand through data-driven strategies. Behind closed doors, however, the story was far more chaotic. Former employees came forward with troubling accounts, late payments, internal conflicts, deals falling through, and a sense that the company was spiraling behind the scenes. What had been marketed as a thriving empire was, in reality, unstable. Bravo fans, who initially assumed Luis was financially sound, were stunned when news broke that one of his companies had filed for bankruptcy. This wasn't a temporary setback or a tough business cycle, it was a complete collapse. Lawsuits began surfacing, revealing accusations of mismanagement and unpaid debts. Industry insiders whispered that Luis had been fighting to maintain an image of success while his finances were crumbling around him. Teresa, ever loyal, defended him passionately on camera. She called him hardworking, brilliant, and unfairly targeted. But legal documents and public filings told a very different story. And then came the most shocking blow: federal tax liens totaling over $3 million. For a couple who flaunted private jets, designer wardrobes, and multi-million-dollar homes, the truth behind the scenes was alarming. These weren't minor tax issues. They suggested years of unpaid obligations and financial negligence. Even worse, some of the liens originated long before Luis entered Teresa's life, meaning he had carried these financial burdens into the relationship from the beginning. For Teresa, who had already served prison time for financial crimes, the optics were devastating. Fans worried she was walking directly into another disaster, this time not because of her own missteps, but because of the man she trusted. Behind closed doors, insiders claimed tensions were rising. Friends and family reportedly urged her to step back, to question, to be careful. But publicly, Teresa continued defending Luis with unwavering devotion. The financial scandals were damaging, but they were only one chapter of Luis's complicated story. Soon, the focus shifted from money to something far darker: his history with women. Exes who spoke of manipulation, control, and emotional volatility that painted a deeply troubling picture.